All right, it looks like we got a couple of people. Oh, several people. Will you just make sure, write in the chat if you can hear me right now, and if you could see my whole screen before I get rolling? All right, Thelma's here. Thank you for the comment there, Thelma. I'm going to check it on my end as well, make sure that we're good to go. All right, and I'm trying something new today, which is having a picture of my pastels that you can see me reach into. Um, Let me know if it's overkill because I'm starting to get a lot of stuff up on the screen and I don't want to uh, overwhelm or have it be just too visually have a lot of interference, be visually messy and noisy or whatever. So please let me know if it's just too much, if it's not working or whatever. So this image that I'm working from today should be in your canvas right now. So if you click into the full color body, you'll see this image also in there. So in either one of them, so this coming Sunday, you'll have a drawing due, both to me and in that discussion area. It can be either the one that we worked on last week or this one, or I'll have a different one tomorrow as well. And then that'll be kind of how it goes. We'll work from a couple of things in class. So this week it's going to be the body. Next week it's going to be the head, and we'll have two references for that. And then we'll move on the next week after that with its two references, and on we go. All right, we had several people, but now we don't. But Thelma, if you're here, I'm going to go ahead and assume that we're good to go. So I'm going to get rolling. All right, and yeah, I see your chat, Thelma. I see you coming up. So it looks like we got another person in. So as you come in, like whoever just came in, or if you're in, if you're signed in, just throw something in the chat so we know that uh, we're all going, we're all here. So, and you can see my pastel set. So I said last time I was going to use a bigger pastel set. This is my big pastel set. So it's got a lot more of the color variety for me to choose from. So in some ways that will make my job easier. In other ways it will make it more difficult or perhaps more prone to being messy. Yeah, I'm going to try and keep it away from that though. I'm working on a different surface this time too. I think last time I was on the gray paper, just the regular gray paper. I'm going to do this one on this green. It's like Strathmore. I don't know if it shows up well in the video, but it's like a green, like a neutral green color. So, Thelma, will you just throw something in the chat saying that you heard me tell you that I see you? I just want to make sure our loop is complete. And if I lose you, I'm taxing my system right now. I've got 3 webcams that I just happen to have laying around. I'm trying to use all of them. And I think I'm going to try and record this at the same time. That might cause us to crash. If it does, I apologize. You know what? I don't think I'm going to record it. I think I'm just going to let YouTube record the stream. But looks like we got 5 people in. All right. We got some folks. All right, and I'm going to wait. Thelma, when I hear from you, I'm going to know that we're good and I'm going to get rolling. Oh, by the way, last time I had sort of the music playing in the background. As soon as I uploaded it, YouTube knew and it gave me all kinds of, I had like 12 or however many songs played. I had that many copyright warnings. So I'm going to do my headphones today. I wonder if I can. I'm going to see about, okay, Andrew sees and hears me good. Nope. I don't know if you can share, Pandora stations. I'd encourage you just to put it on something like, there's Thelma. I'd encourage you to put on something like lo-fi, something, turn on YouTube and turn on one of those lo-fi study channels or something. Just give yourself some ambiance so you're not drawing in the dead quiet. I'm going to have music going in my ear, so maybe that'll interfere with my talking. If it interferes too much with my talking, I'm going to shut it down. But I'm going to be talking pretty much the same stuff, very similar stuff to what we talked about last time or how I was talking last time. So it's going to be kind of disjointed. That's just how it goes. Our viewers keep jumping up and down, up and down. All right. Okay, so last time what happened was that I just out onto the page with the drawing. I just started into it with the pastels like usual. And it grew as I was drawing, or in that first little gestural time. I think these headphones are going to cause me too much distraction, so I'm going to shut them down. And I'll just deal with the quiet, but those are too distracting while I try to talk. Last time it grew a little bit too big. Or I kind of let it grow too big. It didn't bug me too much. I just kind of cropped and let it run out at the head and the legs and stuff. This one, I think I'm going to try to get the whole thing on the page. I kind of want the whole thing to be on the page. So rather than just grabbing my sticks and going for it, I'm going to map out with this. This is a graphite pencil. I'm going to map my drawing out just a little bit first. And maybe even get some of the structure and stuff in with this graphite pencil. The only thing I need to remember, so this is a little bit different of an approach than normal. The thing I need to remember with this graphite pencil is to keep it soft and don't press with it at all. If I press with it, I'm going to have problems. Right? It's going to score the page. It's going to put down too dark of a mark. So I'm just going to be really, really light with it. You may not even see it on the video. Nevertheless, it will be there, guiding what I do with the pastels. I could do this with a pastel as well, like a magenta pastel or some other color. For this, I'm just gonna use a pencil. You don't have to. You don't have to use a pencil, by the way, to start with. You can just start with the pastel. If you feel like, oh, all I have is charcoal pencils and it's gonna be really messy or something like that, then you can just start in with like we did last time with a light pastel. Okay, good. Thelma heard me. Good. All right, so what I want to do with this is I want to establish sort of my limits, kind of like I'm going to be doing a gesture, but I don't want to mess the page up with a whole lot of graphite. So I'm just going to so there's the line of action here. It's like I've got elbows like that with each other to the head here. I'm going to trace with my hand. I'm going to trace the reference image. There's an S curve in there, or a series of them. Okay, good. There's like a series of curves through this body, and I want to make sure I get them. All right, so that's about, is that the leg? I'm taking some quick overall measurements right now. It's about halfway, so that's about where the root of my body is going to be. So I'm going to, hips are like right here center on this image, and so I'm going to gesture around that center. All of this because I want to fit this on the page. So I'm doing a little bit of preliminary work to make sure the size of my drawing is going to fit on the page. All right, so hips here, and they start off like this. If I just start at the hips, they're kind of tilting, like it's not straight up and down like that. If I go like the spine at the hips, it's tilted like this, and I can see that pieces, those two divots at the base of the spine, and the triangle they make with the top of the gluteus muscles, right at the start of the crack there, the tailbone area. There's a triangle there, and I am going to get that in, and it's like up here. So pieces to pieces down. So that starts my curve. It curves in a little bit. So let me just, so it goes up like that and then out with this drastic curve. Already in danger of pressing a little too hard, but I think I'll be okay. And then the neck out, and then it's kind of a straight shot down from there. This is going to be that heel. Want to get some of this S curve on the outside. And again, this is just a map for what I'm up to. So I'm going to keep it gestural. Just finding some of these gestural masses. This stuff's all subject to change. It's just giving me a starting point, mainly for sizing to make sure that things feel decent before I start heading in with a lot of color. All right, quick measurement. Just going to double check a few things. Mainly right here, I'm just going to ask myself, is there anything that's bugging me? And there kind of is. To me, there's a size distance, like maybe this doesn't go long enough. I might still be just about running this off the page. I'm going to take a measurement from the bottom of the heel to that crease, and then I'm going to go up with it and just see what I run into. So bottom of heel to that crease, and if I go from that crease up, it runs right into the acromion. I need to rack this so I can measure from a distance. My pencil is not long enough. Luckily, I have any number of ridiculously long implements that I can use. All right, so heel to there. So if anything, the legs are long, which is fine with me. I'm going to go ahead and leave legs long. You can get away with it. Long legs are no problem. And I think I'm gonna structure this out just a little bit more than even I was planning to, just because I think it's gonna help the pastel drawing. So crease there, it's like that hip goes up into a crease. That's nice. Now in the reference, this arm that I'm on right now is quite blurry because of the way the model was moving. I don't think I'm going to do that in the drawing. I'm going to draw that arm and I'm going to use what anatomical knowledge I've got. And I'm going to flesh that out a little more clearly than the reference image shows. Let's see, that angle. Size of that arm, I may have gotten a little bit big. I was thinking about potentially sharing the link, or like seeing if any former students or people that I know maybe wanted to join in these live streams. Let me know in the chat if that's something that you would be like, well, I don't know, I'd rather not, or something like that. Or if it's fine with you, or you're like, the more the merrier. I'm not sure if anybody will actually come, but I wanted to check with y'all before I open that door. I think I got that upper arm just a little bit too wide. Yeah, I think it's a little too wide. I'm just gonna carve it. All right, I don't want to go too much further down this path. I've got to start. That's good enough. I'm gonna start now working some color into this thing. And I think I'm gonna start with just some broad strokes of color. Like, I noticed the legs are much redder than, it's like if I were to break this thing down in as far as color fields go, I've got like orange to pink in the legs, to blue, to green, back to pink and orange again in the shoulders. It's almost like an interesting rainbow-ish effect. So I'm just going to start independent, since I have the graphite drawing down that I will see as I go. I'm going to like I can see my graphite drawing through this. And there's also some of this up in the shoulders. This is just like, thumb was cool if inviting others. All right, good. So this is, you can see I'm not being very specific about where this stuff is going. It's just like the base nature of the color that I see. Through here's kind of blue. I think I'm gonna grab some middle blue. Let's see what this does. Yeah, that's not bad. There's even a little bit of lavender in there. I'll get to that. This goes more yellow-green. How did I end up with a yellow-green over here? Yeah, maybe like this. This is going to be ridiculous for a second. Like it's going to be rainbow person. Again, you saw the other time we had a real rainbow person going on. I'm going to get that magenta back. Through here. All right, and that schematic is just going to remind me of where things need to be, and it's going to kind of invite, it's going to shift those areas that direction, or like remind me that what color range I'm going to be working in those areas. One thing I need to decide about this model is, one thing I notice about the model is that they're lit in this image, and it makes things a little bit tougher. They're lit from two sides. So the left side here has a light source, and the right side there has a light source. And I can see like the darkest part of the shadow is kind of this snaky thing that runs, up the body. And so I'm going to split those right now. I'm going to find that dark shadow and sort of play it up a little bit as I go. And then I'll probably do more, maybe it's looking to me like maybe it's warmer light, this weaker light on the left maybe is a tad warmer than this cooler light on the right. So I'm going to keep that in mind when I'm working the lights, that I'm going to kind of balance them cool on this side and I'm going to balance them warm on this side. Because I'm on toned paper and because I've got this color field down, I'll have a little more leeway in the lights. Because whatever light I use, whatever white-ish color I use is going to mix with some of that pastel, and it's not going to be, if I'm careful, it's not going to be as chalky. All right, so shadows, let's see. I'm going to go ahead and take a neutral. I don't want to go too stark with it right out the gate. Like black, I'm going to shy away from black. I kind of don't want to do brown either, even though that shadow is quite dark like that. I think I'm going to use, I have like this blue stick. It's probably the equivalent of the dark blue from the 12 color set. And you can see I have way more decisions to make about what color to pick. I have more options, which is good, but I have to be careful about the decisions I'm making. So I'm going to come in with the blue and I'm going to come back with the orange. And even if the shadow goes towards a brown-ish, I'll be able to, it'll have blue in there with it. So it won't just be brown, just like straight brown flat. It'll be like a rich blue, brown, maybe even some reds in there, who knows. All right, so I'm just gonna get to work here. And this is where I've mapped things out with the pencil ahead of time. This is where I'm gonna start doing the swiping. It's like that shadow gesture that we were all doing. Real soft core shadow rolling through there. Down. There's a little moment. Make sure, where am I? There's that leg coming in. And if I carry this line of the silhouette of the leg, there's like an S that comes right through, and there's a shadow shape that goes right on that calf. The gastrocnemius. And it angles down to the side a little bit, and then it juts over, gets real tight down onto that heel. The shadow's a lot softer on this leg. We get a little bit of that shadow on the back of this leg, down on that ankle, and I haven't even messed with the foot yet. All in good time. Here's those medial hamstrings. They make this little, if I look at the shadow, actually if I look at that shadow, the medial hamstrings, now I see an issue. I have the knees kind of in the same plane, like side to side from each other. That shouldn't happen. So this divot here, if I look for its equivalent on this leg, it's actually down quite a ways. It's like down here. So I'm just going to remind myself of that there, and this crease is up higher at an angle kind of like that. That'll put this leg into some foreshortening for me. All right, boom. All right, now I'm going to go up the back, and this spine has a shadow nature to it, and I'm going to look at that shadow shape real quick and just decide what's it like. And the very first thing I notice is that the one that for the spine, the left side of that shadow shape is a hard edge, and it goes to the right like that. And then it's a soft edge here as well, up into that armpit. Ooh, and there's a little hook of shadow right here at the top of that hip. Pieces. And the whole front of this arm almost is dark, especially right out there on the elbow. And just like last time, and then there's like hair. Just like last time, the silhouette is going to be, I'll carve into the silhouette with some background stuff. And I may even line out some things. I'll use some more line, maybe to reinforce some of the line work that I did with the pencil at the start. But for now, I'm still very much just building the shadows. All right, I'm going to grab a dark neutral orange, aka brown. Test it. Ooh, that is very soft and very dark. Yeah, maybe this one. It's a little bit lighter than I expected. I'm going to go just a tad darker. Maybe this one. It's about the exact same color. And I can kind of push and pull here with the blue and whatever I choose. That's a really dead color. Let's see if it. That's not bad. I'm just going to put this here and there, just in with the blue. I'm not going to be super specific about it. Just to kind of take some of the oomph out of that blue. I need to put a little yoga pad down. Actually, you know what? I think I have just that thing. Grab it real quick. if I drop my pastels, they'll land on this soft thing and be less likely to break. All right, now I'm going to be a little bit bold with some of these colors. Like I notice things in here feel like they're shifted towards green a tad. Maybe there's like it's weird because I can't tell if it's green or violet or both. And so if I can't tell, I'm going to go ahead and play that game with you. Where it's like maybe it's green, maybe it's violet. Or something a little lighter. Ooh, that's very soft. And that's too light as well. Something a little bit darker maybe. Yeah, that's better. Especially through here. Lots of violet. Oops. It's times like this where if you're, well, like as I look at this, I'm like, holy crap, it's looking like garbage. And you can really do that to yourself where you're like, oh no, this looks like garbage. And you lose heart. I would encourage you not to lose heart. Just keep working the drawing. Let it have its growing pains. You know, if you don't allow for there to be growing pains, then what do you have, really? This color's nice. And that's some real violet. I'm gonna lean into that a little bit. Where's that dark violet I had? Oh, I'll do some of this. Yeah. All right, I'm going to come back with some light shapes just to see. I've sort of been working the dark for a while. I'm going to see what... I'm just going to start playing some light shapes in here, like pieces. That's far too light for right now. I want something that's just a little bit more, a little bit light, but a little bit cool as well. This is that light side catching cool light. That's probably too light. Yeah, let's try something like this. Yeah, that's better. I'll pop any lights that I need out later. So that has gotten a little too tall. Here we go. Let's see, that sticks out maybe a little farther. Definitely a hit of this. So I'm getting light shapes here, but I'm not spending all of my values. I didn't go for straight white, and that first white that I used was a little bit too strong, and so I laid off a little bit. This has there's a really nice double contour like that, sort of like that overlap. And as we saw before, I can carve back into this side with the background when it comes time. That arcs the other way with just a little hook there. So far, I'm just looking for that primary light source, the cool light coming from the right. A bit like that. And some there. A little bit there. Ooh, there's some interesting shapes here. I want to be a little bit careful here that I don't just go and just scrub down random shapes. There's stuff happening right here, anatomical stuff, and I'm going to try and make the light shapes behave the way the reference behaves. Thelma, thank you for commenting in the chat, because that helps keep me feel like, it helps make me feel like we're here. Yeah, it's the, like, and I would encourage you to look at my drawing right now as I have it. There are any number of places right here that I could just really be scared of or really feel bad about. Like, oh my goodness, this isn't working, that isn't working, yikes, oh, that looks bad, this looks bad. But I know the bones are good. And I know I can, if I just push through and just keep addressing, maybe there are areas like that violet stripe down the leg is bonkers. If I keep pushing and keep pushing and keep pushing and keep making good decisions, the cumulative effect of a lot of good decisions is a really good drawing. And I find most often when you feel like it's time to abandon the drawing, you are incorrect. Apologize if you hear kids running around. I'm going to stop saying that, because otherwise I'll be saying it every single session we have. There's going to be that noise. That just is what it is. All right, let's see this. There's a light shape that cuts up, and I'm going to come back in and carve that a little more carefully later. I really want to make sure this area makes sense anatomically, because there's a twist, there's a lot going on, and it's really quite nice. I also feel like I have not exaggerated this enough. There's something about this curve here that I'm not quite sold on yet. I don't quite, maybe that leg needs to come out just a little bit. Not 100% there yet on that one. All right, I'm going to put that. So I've got a lot of decent work out of that one. I'm going to come back through. So I notice right now the light goes from this pale light here. Once we get to the leg, it goes pink again. So I'm going to find something like that is screaming hot pink. I am not going to use that yet. I can see that mark I just made was way too much. I want to find something that's similar value to what I was just using. That's darker. Similar value to what I was just using, but shifted towards the warm. And maybe it's something like, I don't want to be too intense about it either. Like, some of these sticks are really, like, if I look at the end of this one, it's really quite pink. I don't necessarily want to go there just yet. Maybe this. That's definitely getting closer. It's quite intense, though. I wonder if there's a more neutral one. So this is the color. When you have a full set of colors, this is kind of this is how your thought process goes. It's not like color by number. You're assessing the colors you see and trying to find what's going to work that way in your color set, but it's not as though, like your drawings should have, that's pretty good. It's more of a brown though. I mean, brown is just a neutral orange. I think I'm gonna go like that with it. Yeah, I'm just gonna lean into this for now. I just feel like that's too warm for what I assume was gonna be a cool light source. That's okay. Another thing to recall is if the values work, then the drawing stands a better chance of working. I won't say if the values work, the drawing works, but there we go. And maybe this. I'm gonna let the, that's better. I'm gonna let the value drop off down below as well. Chase down some of these violet things that I see. This is where I'm going to start interfering with that dark zigzag that I put down before. Let's see, that's about same like that. It's almost a straight shot down. We have it on this side too. Now I'm going to bring a little bit of clarity back into this leg. And I'm just going to do it with that blue I had before, just to get some clarity back. Or to get some clarity in the first place, really. All right, this is down from that. Let me know, Thelma, or whoever else is here, let me know if does the screen help? Does it help to have the picture of the pastels there, or is it like, meh, it's kind of a little bit overwhelming? Either way, I don't have a dog in the fight either way. I just want to make sure that things that I'm doing are being helpful rather than being distracting or even just marginally helpful. Like, nah, it's kind of helpful, but not super helpful. If I can save resources on my computer, then so much the better. All right, so I have a lot of violet in here, and I think I need to neutralize just a little bit. So what neutralizes violet? Well, yellow does. Dark neutral yellow, it's going to be, like this isn't even all that neutral, but if I'm thinking of it as a yellow, it is quite neutral. There's a little hit there of that. That side, it's probably too light of a value for there, so I'm going to go back into it. But I'm going to pull some of this into the violet just to take some of the violet out of it here and there. And then I grab violet again. I'm not going to do that. I'll grab something I can make a light shape with, but it needs to be kind of neutral, and I need to watch the value because I'm down in the leg and I don't want the leg to get too much important value. I don't want it to pop too hard in the legs. Even that's a little bit intense. I'm gonna see, do I have a gray? I think it's time for some gray. Just to help take some of the color out of some of this stuff and to lighten it up. Maybe even a darker gray, maybe this one. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, thanks, Selma. That'll help my computer actually to not have to do so much work. So I'll leave these up, the pastels up for now, just for this one because they're already there. But for future ones, I think I'll show the box just to show you the range. And then, does it help to have me describe each color that I'm grabbing? Like, oh, this is a whatever, or is it better to get sort of just the overall broad strokes of the process? Neutralize that. And I've got some greens up in here I really want to make sure I get. And I'm going to have to be brave because when I put the green down, I'm not going to like how it looks. It's like all up in here. And again, I'm doing this with the plan to come back and even it out. Okay, I'll keep talking about the colors I've got. This is kind of an olive green that I'm holding right now. And I'm just coming in this lower back section, just seamed green. And then I see hits of it elsewhere. And it's usually a good operating procedure. If you're using a color okay, I'll keep doing that then, Thelma. I think that is helpful as well. If you're using a color, so for this, in this case, olive green, I'm focusing it here in the lower back because that's where I see it a lot. But I'm also looking elsewhere for any excuse to, maybe it's not the primary color in the area, but any excuse to use it in another place, even if it's just a little bit. Like maybe this knee pit, I could even imagine the knee pit having just a little bit. Just something so that you're not so patchwork with the color. You know, it's like green only exists here and that's it. That's problematic. That's not going to give you the best results. It's almost like if you're using it one place, use it other places too. And I seem to be talking more in this live stream than the other ones because we're almost 48 minutes in and so much talk. But that's okay. I'm going to let the head and arms kind of drop off. They fit, but I'm going to let them drop off as I finish off parts of this. And this is the kind of the nature of the pastel, or the types of drawing that I'm doing, and that I'm having you do, is that I could keep working on this for a whole 3 hours. So in a class, I would expect to have the full class time to work on it. In this live stream, I'm trying to be just a little more speedy about things. Against my better judgment. I'm coming into here with some dark and I'm gonna go darker still not dark enough. I'm just gonna kind of push my darks in this one area just a little bit and see where I get value wise. Let's bring some of this back into, can I have, yeah, let's Nice cold dark shadow there that swoops this way. I am going to bring some color back into this shadow though, because I don't want it to be too lifeless. And that's kind of where that one just went. It kind of got a little lifeless, but just little hits of color. And I'm not sure how well this shows up on the screen, but I've got this maroon. It's like a deep, like the paint equivalent might be like alizarin crimson or something, that I'm just coming in and adding. So I'm not filling that whole shadow I just did with it. I'm just adding it to the edges, and I might even put a little bit of blue in there as well, just to make that shadow be a little more alive. That whole area is a little darker. And then, where's that lighter color that I was using? It's not that, that's too light. Is it this? That's also quite light. This is the game I always play. It's the game of what color was I using? It's too dark. Oh, let's use that one. At least to start. I'm going to sharpen up that shadow edge with it. From here, I'm going to be on the lookout for hard edges or things, edges with which I can reclaim some clarity, or claim some clarity to begin with, because things are a little bit still indistinct. I'm getting some clarity down in here with that silhouette edge, but it's not, it could be clearer. That's a violet stick. So that's what I'm going to do that for just a minute. Oh, there's that stick. So that's my violet light through here, maybe a bit through there. If I get the light to shadow transition through here good, it'll really show that area off well. So it's darker out here, almost out to the edge, and up here where it takes a blue turn, and it's actually, I'm pumping that coarse shadow. I'm going to let this, it's like a violet and a blue that I'm playing with right now, and I may come back in with an orange just to hit a few places to take some of the blue violet out of it, but it's also balancing against blue orange over here, so it might be okay. There's some shadow there, and then if I look at the light shape, there's like this flag shape, like this triangle in like that, and it happens below that crease. So that feels pretty good. All right, now I'm gonna be daring real quick. It's like a light shape right there. Boom. there's a certain amount of being paralyzed by choices. Like I have so many colors in my pastel set right now that I'm finding for myself a little bit of difficulty deciding, okay, what's the best color to use here? And the truth of the matter is that it may not be as hard a choice as circumstance is making it seem. You know, it's like, how do you pick when you have so many options? And that can be a real problem. It can be like, I don't know. I don't even know where to start. So that's why I start you off with the 12 color set, because you can do most things. You don't have the expressive potential of the color is limited because of, I don't even want to say it like that. You just don't have as many options, quite obviously. But that is not necessarily all that bad. Making do with what you do have can lead to better results, I would say. Something about this just not quite, I'm not quite liking it yet. But I've taken this area quite a lot farther than anywhere else. So I'm risking just doing a 1 hour rump study here. So I'm gonna speed up some of these decisions real quick and move to different spots just so I don't carry one part of the drawing up to a higher level of finish than others. All right, I'm going to move up into the back right now. Yeah, I'm going to hold off. So I'm keeping the values here in check, sort of in a narrow range, in anticipation of being able to put down some nice light shape decisions. And if I look at this, I'm trying to think of this triangle as a whole, as an area, not yet up into the spine, but down into the triangle. And it's like light on one side. So I've got, is it this color? It's almost like this part of the triangle is light and it drifts off this way. I hit this middle value range. I'm going to leave that up. I hit this middle value range that's kind of like a, is it blue? Is it green? I can't tell. It's like both. Or it's like this is a violet color, and then I'm going to grab that olive green again that I was using and kind of just confuse the eye with it a little bit. Intersperse it through that area. So you have a little bit of that green and violet play that I see happening over there. And I lost my other light shape, but that's okay because I'm about to bring it back. All right, so that's the light of one side. We get over here and we get a dark hit, and it's quite a dark hit. Let's see if this, what do I have here? This is like a deep navy almost. Ooh. Deep navy, and it's the other side, so it's the other side of Pisces. There. And then there's also this sort of radiating triangle of light coming out of it. And shape that shadow shape a little bit. I want to make sure I keep that angle going. You saw me swipe with my pinky right there. Maybe you didn't, but I did do it. Be very careful should you choose to smear or swipe or do anything with your fingers, as you can really start making a mess of things. Oh, this is a good color I just found. So I'm going to put some of these back. So I just grabbed this color, and it's a gray is what it is, but it's kind of a warmish gray, which is great in skin. I'm going to find places to use it to help warm things up without going too far. It's going to give me some of my skin. Yeah, it's real nice against this violet down here. So this gray is going to take some of the spunk out of the colors that I've used so far, and it's going to carry them more towards the skin tone. I'm going to towards the skin color, or towards feeling like skin. And I'm going to do that same game that I did before, which is finding one place to use it. It's good. I'm going to find as many places as I can that it makes sense to use this. And because I have so much color down, I can kind of swipe it on. I don't want to say indiscriminately. I can swipe it on with a little more vigor because the colors that are already down are going to mix with it or sit next to it and make it a little less, a little less impactful. It won't look the same everywhere. Like, you run the risk when you start swiping with the same stick everywhere of having everything look the same. And with the amount of color that's already in the image, that's not as likely to happen here. And this is just going to give me some things that feel like skin. It's like a warm gray to add a little bit more life to some of these areas that are kind of cool or kind of overly color balanced in one direction. All right. I'll leave that over here in the gray area. I want to keep working this back. And I think I'm going to start by darkening this shadow very specifically. This is like it's like a dark forest green. It's kind of a really neutral dark green, just for that spine hook. And then I actually, if I look into the base of the spine there, I can see little, it might be artifacts of the JPEG, like the image that I'm using, but it's kind of nice right now because I see little hits of magenta, just like dark little pockets of it. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that in a little bit, just sort of bounce against that green. I don't want there to be too much green there. All right, and that shadow's a little wider. Then when we get up into the upper back, it kind of takes on violet, and that's not dark enough. I'm going to grab the violet, or near enough to the violet that I was using down here, to get a little bit of this shift that's happening up here. Yeah, that's good. And here's where musculature, like knowledge of the muscles, really helps, because I know this is trapezius. I know it's rolling this way, so I can soften this edge and keep a hard edge on the one side, which I'll probably bring back with a lighter stick. And I can kind of play those shapes a little more anatomically I guess. Even a little bit of this up there. Still just a little bit too light. I don't want to be laying down too light colors yet. It's really tempting to just use up all your lights right away. You kind of start laying down with the white stick, and it's just like pop, 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 way too much white, way too soon. When you're working on toned paper, when you're working on white, it's actually way more way more likely to happen. When you're working on this toned paper, you can afford to kind of lay off for a little bit. Take your time arriving at your lightest lights. Save that oomph for where you really want the focus to be. Lighten that up just a tad. Here we go. Now I need to get some shadow up underneath this arm just to give me something for that upper arm to stand out against. What color should that shadow be? Well, I'm going to come in and see what this does. That's quite dark, but that's not bad. Let's strengthen this core shadow through here as well. Right down into that hit. Right, then I'm going to give myself a sharp edge here that gradates out. That's going to start giving me that arm. See, I'm going to cool that off just a little bit. So that's got a lot of red in it. You guys are going to spend a lot of this session just looking at the top of my head. Hopefully the reflective lights are not too strong as they bounce off the top of my head and into your face. All right, I think I want to put some background in, and I'm going to try and decide what to do with the background. What's the best option with it? And I think I'm in like the violet territory here, but the violet shapes are bouncing against this orange, brown, and yellows and stuff. So there's kind of some balance happening within the figure. I think I want to knock the green sort of gray of the paper away. So let's see what happens if I do like a deep red. It's like a dark maroon color for the background. I'm just going to see what I get here. I'm going to start here. Just grab that silhouette. Like usual, I can adjust this color later. It looks like I got a little too condensed through here, but that's okay. I'm just going to have that exaggerating the pose. getting rid of the green of the paper like this is going to make it look like the green stuff that's happening in the figure is kind of intentional color mixing, when really a lot of it is going to be the green of the paper just showing through. Let's come through, and I switched hands with this pastel. See if I trust myself to make a silhouette edge with my right hand. This will also give me some context so I can decide what, if anything, needs to happen in the figure. Problem with using my left hand is I can't see past it to get that nice clean edge. I don't like the shape of that. And that's a little bit better. Right, now in this, if I want to contrast the texture of the figure against the background, I can come in with my finger, if I'm careful, which I just wasn't and just ran into the figure, or a blending stump or something like that, and just take some of the paper texture out of it. I'd caution against doing that too aggressively, just because you can get carried away with it and it's kind of not necessary. About 15 minutes away, so I need to start resolving some things. Here I was like, I'm gonna have it fit on the page again, but it technically does. I just didn't finish the top and bottom again, but I'm gonna blame the time limit on that rather than on the initial placement, if I can be so bold with myself. I have to ask myself, do I feel decent about those hips? Yeah, I feel pretty good. Yeah, well, Thelma, the reality of that red is I almost didn't want to do it because I'm so given to like blue, like neutral blues falling backwards, like falling into the background. But I saw that come, and I know that about myself, and I was like, why don't I choose a background color that downplays the paper? And you can imagine if I took this background color out to the edges, the figure would really be stark against it. But yeah, downplay the paper. Now whenever the paper shows up in the drawing, it looks like part of the drawing first and foremost, rather than like paper showing through, was my thought. Let's see, a little bit. There's some stuff happening. I don't have as much clarity through here as I would like right now, and I'm trying to decide if I'm going to go for it with shadow or with light? And I think the answer to that is going to be with both. So this stage of the drawing, this level of finish, such as it is, I really have to start making careful choices about what I'm doing. So you'll notice the marks that I'm making being much more measured, much less swipey and broad and everything as they were before. Simply because I don't want to, like, the decisions now are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. I'm just going to play that side as having more reflected light, or more of the secondary light source. I'm going to go just into this. I'm going to simplify the color situation down here in the leg. Just maybe like lead it almost to being like the background in a way. In fact, this is going to be more like the actual background. Maybe there's a tiny bit showing up in there, but I don't want to overdo that. In fact, I think I'm just going to knock that back into just deep occlusion. All right, and then do I see anywhere else that this kind of stuff would make sense? Maybe up here. I think I'm going to just let that head drop off, because in the next 14 minutes, what can I do? Well, I'm going to bring some of my light. I'm going to start prioritizing where my light really is, and that's almost more light than I'm willing to accept. That stick I had was really close to white. I'm just going to find some moments. There's like a double contour here. I want to make sure I get like the highlight on this big shape and the contour on that one. Maybe play this up just a little bit. Here's where I get in trouble, because I tend to get a little carried away in the lights. That's okay. If I feel like they went too far, I can always come down, play them. It's the edge of that muscle, and it kind of grows right here to the shiny spot on that muscle. right here, it's like the light is hitting and then dropping off this way, hitting, dropping off this way. There's a little bit of light through there, and that the highlight through here has some color to it, but I almost don't want our focus to be there necessarily. I was going to make this arm clearer at the start. That was my intention. But now I'm like, due to time and where I really want us to be looking, it's not really up here. It's like right through here. This is my focal area. So I'm going to keep us there. I'm taking a little bit of liberty in these shapes in the back. It's like light hits here and rolls in, hits here and rolls in. So even if I don't see it specifically like that in the image, I'm kind of doing that anyway, just to reinforce that light hit. Smooth that out. I almost feel like I'd see ribs. I can almost see them if I try real hard. So I'm going to just vary this shape a tad, vary this shadow a little bit just to get some, I don't know, variety coming up that back. That's probably too much for right there, so I'm going to tame this a little bit. Some of that skin color. I'm dealing with a lot of colors here that aren't really skin colors. In fact, I probably could have gone with a green there. But it's not too big of a deal because what I'm interested in mainly is that balance. Oh, that's way too light. I'm interested in keeping that balance going. There's some nice pink happening up in there. I just need to be careful that it doesn't go too crazy. Man, that is a strong pink I just had. Let's go a little bit gentler. You hear my kids fussing and getting in trouble. But I've got this kind of magenta-y stuff. I think I'm going to find a few more spots to throw it in down here. Like I can see a few spots that seem like they might call for it. And then I'm going to do a little trick here in the last 10 minutes. It's a cheap trick, but sometimes it's nice. Sometimes it's called for. You'll see what I'm talking about. Let's see what's going on down there. I need a little bit more light through here. felt like there was a place that the silhouette needed a little bit of help. Oh, right here. I know it's not a very well-developed area, but I feel like I can get the nature of that forearm in just by changing those shapes a little bit. Yeah, and I kind of like, there's something happening that I quite like. Down here, there's like a blue and red sort of interplay happening. So I'm just gonna maybe manufacture that in the background a little bit. And heck, I might even do a gradient thing. So now I've got some, there's a little bit of, you may not see it on the screen, there's a little bit of blue and red kind of play in that background. And I kind of like it. I think it's nice. And so I've got a lot of blue in the center of the figure, and it drops down towards warmer colors, and it goes up towards warmer colors. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to balance that interplay in the background as being just a little bit more blue heavy up at the top and down at the bottom. It's not solid one or the other. It's just like there's a little bit more, you get a little bit more blue balance here. There's still some blue through here, but it's a little bit more red, and then back more towards blue down here. I don't know. Maybe that's unnecessary, but I feel like it's going to have a nice effect. So I'm going to go for it. I kind of like these legs going straight into more of that blue. I don't know, it might be getting out of control now. And throw some up here. Yeah, I want it to be a little more subtle up here at the top. Maybe dropping off to more blue down at the bottom. All right, 3 more minutes. I'm going to do that cheap trick I was talking about in the 3 minutes. Rosa, can the next drawing use the 12-pack of new pastels primarily, but also with a few other colors like your most used or useful colors? Yeah, we'll do that tomorrow. So for tomorrow's drawing, I'll use the 12-color set again, but I'll introduce probably some mint green and some gray and that, which I normally, I'll do the 12-color pack with a few of my more used colors. Here's that cheap trick. I've got this cool white that I used over here, which is giving me kind of like a glow of coolish light, except for maybe down here. I'm going to take this really hot light value here. It's like a really light peach pink. It's a super soft velvety color. And I'm going to break it in half into a million pieces. No. Man, it's so soft, it's just crumbling. That's how you know you're on the right track. I don't want to say this is a cheap trick, but it throws, it puts a glow, a rim light on your shadow side. So this is my shadow side. It rim lights that shadow side in a really high impact kind of a way. And this is completely devoid of I'm basing it ever so loosely on what I see in the image. I'm just imagining the light to be coming. That was probably too much. That one probably doesn't deserve it. I'm just imagining like a glow light out somewhere in front of the model. Maybe to rhyme with like what's happening in the shoulders of the reference model. And it's just like a come and go kind of a thing. It's nothing real. Real specific. I'm just kind of playing with the edge a little bit. You can see some of the hits where the stick broke and stuff. They're actually helping it to have a little bit of atmosphere maybe. And that's something you can do anytime you're drawing and you have like a single light source. You don't have your second light source necessarily. You can always just invent that rim light in the background, and it gives you, it'll pop the dimension and it'll give you a hint of another light source. So this almost now feels like there's cool window light coming this way, and there's like a hot lamp or something deeper into the space. It's something to definitely play around with. It can get a little bit hokey if you overdo it. I don't know. It can actually, it can give it a lot of nice dimension as well though. So you decide. And with that now as my foil, I can almost come back in here and be like, okay, then, like, where do I get some, I've got like a mint green or like a mint blue. Where do I get some of my lightest window stuff happening? And I can play against that orange here with like a cool color here. And really kind of upsell what's happening with the light. And this is a soft color too. And I have the benefit right now, admittedly, of a wide range of really nice quality soft pastels. But you can do this with new pastels as well. It's not a soft pastel only kind of thing. All right. I'm going to call it on this one. I think tell me in the chat real quick before we shut this down. What would you find it helpful for me to go take a good picture of this one that I did and maybe the previous one as well and post them on Canvas? I'll probably put it on my Instagram as well because that's just what I do. But would you like me to put these drawings that I did in the Canvas with the understanding you're not going to be expected to copy them necessarily, just to sort of give you a reminder, or just to remind you of what mine looked like or how it went? Let me know in the chat and then we'll wrap this up. Let's see if we can get that's a yes. Okay. Because it's kind of, you see it here in its distorted way. the distorted version of it. And I think I did what I always do. I made this model thicker, wider than the reference model. Something I could have measured from the start, something I personally need to usually keep a better eye on, but is what it is this time. Now I just have to square this with the fact that I did this on the back of some old other drawing. I'll like spray fix that back. All right, I got it from the three. I'm wondering, where's everybody else? They've decided watching these after the fact maybe is easier. All right, that does it for me. Does anybody have, well, if you have other questions, hop in the open Zoom right now. I'm going to start up right after this. So I'm going to call that a wrap. I'll post both of those images in Canvas for you to refer to as well. So we will see you tomorrow, where it'll be a different reference still, and I'll be using the 12 color set plus a few extra colors. All right. Bye, everybody.